What is going on, everyone? My name's Boit, and I'm back with some more Age of Mythology. The Titans action spawning in the green color, playing as Zeus. You know him as TSM player, but he's better known as one of the best Greek players ever. He's got an opponent today in the cyan color, the teal color, whatever you want to call it. He's playing Loki, and his name is Golden Lion. Their opponents today, arguably one of the best, if not the best Age of Mythology player currently playing, had a lot of success in the 1v1 tournaments of late. He's playing as Oranos, and his name is Ulysses. His partner today, one of the best team game players I have ever seen, and a very, very strong Loki player as well. He is from the UCA clan, and his name is Mechanics. The map is Midgard, and I want this to be known. If you do not like Midgard, you are not a true competitive RTS player, because Midgard is easily the most skill-intensive map available to be played on in the current game, in the current meta, in the current everything. The reason why this map is so bloody good is because you have to worry about water being hit. You have to worry about land being hit. You have to worry about tech being hit. And it all comes incredibly fast. Scouting is so ridiculously important on this map, as opposed to, say, like a marsh where you kind of already know what the Thor player is going to do. Do you know what I mean? Like, you already know what the Ra player is going to do. On Midgard, you got no idea. They can kind of just go completely off script, and things are going to be exciting. So we'll see what these guys are going to come up with. There's so many different ways to play this game, play this map. I do like to say that the best openings on Midgard are the 18 fish variants. At least 3 docks, 4 docks if you're feeling fancy, tends to give you the best starts. But I see top players doing any variety of 9 fish to 18 fish and any advance time from around 4:30 to say like 5:30, 5:45. Even I see 6 minutes some of the time. So we'll see how it all goes. We are seeing a whole bunch of dwarves already onto this gold mine. There is a really, really easy way to play the Norse gods here, but I often don't see Norse players playing into that, which is effectively you chuck 2 dwarves onto gold really early, and that allows you to build a massive dwarves. And while you do get slightly less gatherers out of your town center, those dwarves are really important in the classical age, because it allows you to get a touch more amount of gold without having to spend gold to get it, while you're getting a ton of food. And what does a touch more gold with a ton of food equal? It equals either mass Herser, or it equals a very, very fast heroic age, which are both very, very good things. So that's why I suggest to Norse players to go for the earlier dwarf builds, as we see Gold Lion and I believe Mechanics here kind of doing neither of those. They're just going for a normal kind of 4 dwarf in the archaic age build. Nothing too wrong with it, but nothing too right with it either. TSM player, on the other hand, he's going to be going for the standard. He's got himself 8 villages on wood. He's pumping out those fishing ships. Normally, we do see round about 10 villages on wood, which allows the Greek player to get a very crisp 5, 15, 18 fish build. But if you go 8 villages, maybe it's going to be a little bit less on the fishing side, a little bit. You're still probably going to be getting a 5, 15, maybe a 5-minute advance time if you want to be going for that. But nonetheless, yeah, we're going to be seeing a 5-minute advance with a couple less fishing ships. He might buy them while he's advancing to the next age. He might not. It doesn't really matter. It's just the idea is there, and we'll see how things are going to eventuate here as the players are going to be advancing to the classical age. You see 4 SETI through 4. Gold Lion Mechanics also going through 4 SETI. No surprises there. He did drop the spy on TSM players Katoskopos there. Ulysses. Let's see what he's doing. And this is always interesting, I reckon. We are seeing Prometheus and only 7 fishing ships coming through, going up to 8 fishing ships now for Ulysses. He's going to be pumping those breams from the get-go. Now, if you've ever listened to my theory on Atlantean on Midgard, I do think that 430 is the way to go, but you actually kind of want to leave just the one villager on gold and put 5-6 villagers on wood in order to spam out those fishing ships while you're advancing. By the time you get to the classical age at 515, you will have your 18 fishing ships. It's actually wild how well it works, and then you can get person and start building the ships out. You get to use the early valor onto like oracles and a citizen or something like that, or just get early pressure with the Promethean and then start attacking, and it works really nicely. But I still haven't seen Atlantean players doing it, so maybe it's bad, maybe I'm wrong. Anyways, the Bream coming in, going to be hitting these fishing ship in the early stages of the game here. Gold Lion under some pressure here. We'll see what he's going to do as a response to this. Oftentimes the best way to defend against Atlantean is to sit back and sit under your docks and utilize the extra damage and HP that your longboats have. So, excuse me. So you can just simply take the losses here of a fishing ship or two because you know your opponent's attacking you really early. So there's not really that big of a deal here, but we'll see how it's all going. There's a big shockwave at the very early stages here. Maybe going to pick off one of those longboats. It will get back over here. You can drop healing spring on the shore to heal this long boat back up, but that might not happen as the Promethean offspring getting pushed away by a troll over here. Meanwhile, on the top side of the map from TSM player here, we are seeing him moving forward, going to start hitting Mechanics, and Mechanics is a smart player. He really understands these maps. He's not going to attack TSM player at all on the water unless he's got a significant boat advantage. Right now, he's got 6 boats versus 4. Means he's got the advantage. And player has to retreat here for the time being. Meanwhile, on the bottom side of the map here, we do see Gold Lion here. He's got a nice concave. So long as you keep focus firing ships here, you don't need to pull back your ships at all. As Loki against Oranos, your boats move too slowly compared to theirs, so you just don't get as much of an advantage from doing it. And beyond that, you also have to respect the fact that your opponent is a good player. So pulling ships back often doesn't do as much as you think against the really, really good players. Best thing to do, best practice is to just have all your ships selected or half your ships selected so that you can immediately refocus those onto close extra ships there. As the Bream coming forward, this one going to be falling nice and soon. There it does go down, and Gold Lion still pushing and pushing back. Meanwhile, I feel like this fight's going to be kind of equally fought for a little bit. Let's see what's happening over here. We do see TSM player sneaking out a cheeky military academy while this is all going on, sending his heroes and his hoplites forward, going to clean up that troll, bolting the Herso, pushing Mechanics back into his base while TSM player is defending this. This kind of play does remind me a little bit of very, very old Age of Mythology or AOM King Midgard gameplay. He would always go for these super aggressive Midgard plays where he would drop a military barracks, but normally he would drop it like right up here next to the dock or something, and then start trying to bash down the enemy dock with his hoplites and things like that while he wins the water with Supreme Micro. That doesn't really work all too well anymore as players have gotten a lot better, but those were his ideas, and this is very reminiscent of that. As the fighting continues over here, Gold Lion not really able to produce that many Herso. He's only got a handful out at this point because he just doesn't have that many fishing ships. His fishing ship's currently in the dock here, not doing all too much. He is going to get his own dock here to help defend. Boat numbers here, 13. This looks like it's going to be a very, very easily won fight for Gold Lion, but Ulysses deciding to take it a little bit too long here as he's only got like 13 Bareems left, lots of low HP. The fishing ship are going to be able to come back out and be completely fine here as now TSM player, he's got his eyes set on this Gold Mine. A handful of hoplites, Odysseus, Jason with a handful of trireme here to boot. This could be very, very dangerous for Mechanics. Now, Mechanics has got himself watchtowers. He's getting himself out there. He's throwing axemen. So he should be fine here, but he does have to be careful with his army not to overextend too hard here. That Odysseus is going to hit super hard here, and sooner or later we're going to see an archery range coming in as we do see the restoration on the waterfront here, pushing Mechanics back into his base. Meanwhile, down the bottom, still Ulysses pushing back and forth, but we are now seeing the Herso coming through for Gold Lion, forcing out some Murmillo for Ulysses here as the Gold Lion army starting to push in. Ulysses pulling back over here. He does have his Murmillo hero spied. That's a big help for Gold Lion in these fights here as TSM player pushing in. Mechanics, no, you never want to move out as Loki is losing so many boats here. He does turn around, but now he's completely out of position. If we take a look at how many boats are here, it is advantage Mechanics. He's got 13 longboats to 12 triremes, so the triremes will have to pull back. Meanwhile, on the front here, it looks like Mechanics has had a slight victory as TSM player is trying to get the forward position here. Pulling back, he's got himself a handful of Toxote, but there's really not enough to deal with those throwing axemen, even with the Odysseus to boot. It's a pretty scary Loki army at this point in the game. Meanwhile, the Barim do look like they've cleaned up Gold Lion's fish over here, and this is going to be spelling some very difficult times for TSM play because he's going to have to defend against Mechanics and defend against Ulysses, who's going to be looking for the raids, while TSM player is trying to get aggressive over here. Meanwhile, we see an incredibly greedy Mechanics town center getting grabbed over here. Will it get spotted? TSM player has got the spidey sense tingling. He's moving in. He sees the town center coming up. That's going to be put to bed there as Dionysus is coming in. Might be a very early bronze or something like that. A bit surprised to see Dionysus in a team game from TSM player. He's always talking about how good Underworld is in these team games, but goes for Dionysus, and you do get this beautiful Hydra here. And let's see, is TSM player going to do the shenanigans? We're going to wait. There's 7 caribou there. That's potentially 3 heads. He's not going for it. He's just going to have the single-headed Hydra. Feels bad. His Trireme over here are getting picked off, but what this does mean is that TSM player gets himself a Skylar to defend the water much easier. So that does make sense where that's concerned. However, the problem is Ulysses has completely cleaned Gold Lion off of the water now, as Gold Lion is looking for raids. He's got himself 10 Herso. He will be spotting the Mechanics villages on this gold mine, though. This is going to be a huge amount of damage done. We are seeing the Mechanics villages retreating fast as the Murmillo hero chasing in here, trying to defend this one. Mechanics, he's left his villages here for just a little bit, going to be losing a handful of them. Meanwhile, the units pushing in over here. The Hydra getting a little bit beaten up there by that Hersa, but still got lots of HP remaining as the units have to pull back. We are seeing already a second town center up for Ulysses. He's in a very, very strong position. Meanwhile, we've got the Barim coming in onto the back of TSM player. He's not able to react to these multiple areas of conflict that he's currently suffering. The defense is going to be very tough. We see Juggernauts coming out for TSM player as the fishing ships getting taken down. More Juggernauts coming out as the TSM player basically has to retreat all his fishing ships back into the dock for the time being. Meanwhile, now starting to see some Hephaestus coming in. The Dwarves getting pushed off of this gold mine over here. We see the Hersa getting pushed back, and Heinhia spawn on this location. Going to get cleaned up pretty fast there by those hero Murmillo. The villagers all in full scramble mode now for Mechanics as he needs to pull them back. He's got no gold income for the time being, so in a very, very difficult position. But the food crisis for TSM player is going to be very real. He is sitting at 1,000 food, but with no villagers gathering food, that's going to go very fast here. It looks like he's trying to get to the Mythic gauge at this point. We'll see what he wants to go for, Hera or Hephaestus. I don't feel like there's necessarily a bad choice here. If you go Hera, you can save that Lightning Storm for a potential flaming weapons that comes. Use Lightning Storm on the flaming weapons Loki army and completely clean it to trade your Mythic Age God Power for the biggest power spike that Loki potentially has in this matchup. So it makes a lot of sense there, as the Juggernauts are still coming out slowly, but they're very easily taken out by Mechanics over here. Meanwhile, on the bottom side of the map, we're now starting to see Ulysses getting himself his 3rd town center. He's still going in with these Murmillo. He doesn't yet have himself Copper Mail. Definitely an upgrade which he should think about investing in over here, as the units pull back, still waiting to push in. Meanwhile, on the top side of the map, we do see the villager with the military academy has spotted this Gold Lion, going to be clicking his flaming weapons very soon as he does hit Bragi. Now we'll see what he wants to go for, if he's going to be opting to try and get to the Mythic Age fast and go for some sort of Thimble Winter flaming weapons play or something like that. Could be really, really strong. As Mechanics pulling back into his base, still under a lot of pressure. Those Toxotes doing a lot of work over here. Goldline and Ulysses just taking a load off as this game is going on. We are seeing the units now moving down to the bottom side of the map. Goldline does have his second town center up, is mining up this gold mine. Meanwhile, we see some units coming over here, hitting a raid onto Mechanics gold mine as he's pulling back into the main base. Still having some difficulties with the gold situation. If we take a good look at Mechanics' current resources, he is sitting at full population and he's taking this bronze fight here. As he's pulling back, we're going to be seeing the units attempting to make a break for the tower, but the rest of them will get taken down. Maybe a premature lightning storm here from TSM play. It's going to do a lot of damage, but this will allow the flaming weapons for Mechanics to be used here in this game, as the units over here of Ulysses have spotted Gold Lion's gold mine. But Gold Lion's already here with all of these Hersa. Very, very strong here. We still don't see those upgrades, those copper mail upgrades coming through for Ulysses, but he does hit the heroic age through Thea. It's going to have those Stymphalian birds out to deal with Battle Boar and deal with everything else. As the market getting thrown down by Mechanics, we see the Medusa coming in, a very, very useful unit in this matchup. Definitely don't want to be throwing that one away, as a troll spawn does come in, and it looks like potentially TSM players Medusa is going to get cleaned up here. Needs to retreat that one away. It's pretty quick at 4.3 speed, but it looks like TSM player not paying attention, going to be kicking himself for losing that one in this game. So now the big problem is for TSM player that he hasn't really started any additional economy in this game. He's sitting at one town center, and he does have a big score lead because he's got a lot of military kills, but his economy is not as strong as Ulysses. Mechanics is definitely in a difficult position here, but all that being said, it's still going to be a tough one for TSM player to pull ahead here, as now we're starting to see villagers getting sniped here, and this is the best thing that Ulysses can do right now. Whenever you see someone on one town center for a really long time, it means that their economy is incredibly fragile, and if you let their economy continue to work, they're going to be able to be fine. But if you kill off a couple of villages, a handful of villages, it hurts so much more than killing off people with, say, 2 town centers or 3 town centers, because they just can't rebuild the villages fast enough. As we do see that Mechanics is now able to get himself this gold mine. He's currently completely or almost completely walled in over here, though, as we see the units moving in onto this position, preventing that palace from coming up. Going to be sniping down that villager here. TSM player does have his Bellerophon out, and Bellerophon, we've seen it time and time again. This is the best raiding unit in the game. It's a 4 population Anubite that essentially one bangs a villager, or like kills a citizen in 3 or 4 shots because of that special that it can use 100 DPS, as we are now seeing the Karkanos coming in. Very rarely do we see this unit doing anything. A very, very little known fact about the Karkanos is he's actually it's actually modeled a little bit after the fire or the demolition ship. If it dies, it does 300 hack damage within 7.5 range, which is huge. Absolute crazy amounts of damage that it can potentially do. You can run it you can run it into a batch of fishing ships, delete it, and kill all the fishing ships. That kind of thing is absolutely insane. As Ulysses hits the Mythic Age, he's got himself Hecate, going to drop that down. The Tartarian Gate coming in, going to be hitting Goldline. Now Goldline does have himself Hersa, and oftentimes these Tartarian Gates you don't want to use on the Loki player, because this is free favor for the Loki player, as we do see the temple coming up, and I'm sure Goldline's going to be licking his lips here. These are Tartarian spawns. They're myth units. They're countered by Hersa, and they each have 2.16 favor that comes with them. So that one there from Ulysses is a bit of a risky move there, as we do see the flaming weapons coming in to defend the gold villages. Lots of gold villages there were picked off, as the Bellerophon going to be retreating away for this time. He's pulling past the gate, going to be completely fine. He's still, we've now got a second town center up for TSM player here, as Goldline going to be utilizing his Nidhogg on this area to potentially take down the Tartarian Gate. If I'm Goldline here, I'm targeting those Tartarian spawns and getting myself out a ton of Fire Giant here, allowing the Nidhogg to clean up the Tartarian gate, as well as any myth unit spawns as well. And that looks like exactly what Gold Lion's going to start doing now, but he is going to be losing some Hersa to make that kind of trade happen here. But now Ulysses can start thinking about going in with Fanatics, and he can be in a really, really good position there. Still, this Karkanos doing absolute work. It doesn't do a lot of damage when it's just by itself, like 20 damage, hack damage, 12 crush, doesn't seem like a lot. But it's being undealt with here as the Bellerophon does jump in, hits that battle ball quite nicely there. The Toxotes in the back going to be doing tons of damage with the help of those Hypaspists here as well. The Hersa retreating away, and those throwing axemen need to do kind of everything else in this fight. Bellerophon micro on point here in this fight, as Mechanics still under a lot of pressure, as TSM player has managed to push Mechanics back yet again here. However, Ulysses is still on the prowl for TSM player villages. He is constantly raiding TSM player, and TSM player hasn't managed to get himself his 3rd town center yet. He's the only one still on 2 town centers, which means Ulysses is going to be able to continue pushing ahead in this game as the Hersa are pulling back. And while Gold Lion technically can find himself in an advantageous late game against Oranos, it's still incredibly tough to pull off. Effectively, you need to get out a handful of Fire Giant and really micro well against Lampedes. So Lampedes come in and destroy your Fire Giants. Life is over. He's got 3 Fire Giants here, 2 Battle Ball, and a Nidhogg. So it's a very, very strong army that is constructed. But he does have to be really, really careful about the Lampedes that's moving in here, as Ulysses has already clicked onto the Fire Giant, can immediately target one of those, immediately converting that over as the Lampedes just retreats back, waits for the 20 seconds, going to come back in, pick off another one, rinse, repeat here as the Toxotes continuing to try and defend this. We see this town center attempting to come up. Looks like it might just barely get denied here as the Hersa are onto it. Those throwing axemen able to clean up those Hypaspists beautifully with the help of that Frost Giant to come in and start tanking the Toxotes here nicely. Just running away from the Heracles just barely here as villagers coming in to help out as well. Obviously, Mechanics does not want to allow this town center to go to TSM players' hands here in this game, as the Frost Giant continues to do what it can do. The Heracles is going to clean up the Frost Giant finally, but it looks like to me TSM player is in a very difficult position. 92 of 130 population, losing that town and potentially losing some villages. Nowhere really to run with these villages except back here to this gold mine, I guess, and in a very, very tough position as Mechanics looks to have stabilized against TSM players Zeus in this game. Meanwhile, Gold Lion is under severe attack as the Fire Siphon coming in to take this town center down. Those Fanatics, Arcus, Fire Siphon, this army composition is brutal to deal with, but we do have a ton of Fire Giant. We do still have the Nidhogg. The Nidhogg's very tough to deal with as the town center does go down. The Nidhogg's really tough to deal with for Oranos because Oranos wants to spend favor on things like Palace, on Lampedes, on everything else. You do see that the Stymphalian birds go down very fast. The Fire Giants, a handful of Arcus do get converted here. If we take a look at Ulysses' favor situation, he's currently got only 20 favor, which isn't really a whole lot of Arcus heroes, and they're not really that good if we're completely honest. Meanwhile, Mechanics moving through onto this position. He's got his army. He's ready to hit TSM players' villages over here. TSM players kind of all over the map, but I don't see him trying anything. Maybe a barracks with some Myrmidon or something can sneak in and take this town center down and be a little bit distracting. But Ulysses now, he's going to go up to 4 town centers, and this is going to be a very tough position to be in for Gold Lion as he's retreating back. We see an armory getting thrown up here as farms trying to come down. If Gold Lion wanted to, he could restart his fishing ship shenanigans over here. He's got himself 1,500 wood in the bank, so starting up fishing ships wouldn't have been a bad idea. Just build a couple of docks, get going, no problems there. Flaming Weapons is still available here for Gold Lion as he casts it, running in with his Hersa to try and take these units down. That Nidhogg with the splash damage is going to completely obliterate this. Not only that, we do see a Iron spawn here, which is going to help out even more as these Hersa go up to 25 damage per second. Going to clean up all of those Fire Siphon with the Fire Siphon and the Stymphalian birds do manage to clean up the Nidhogg here as that's a big win there for Ulysses. He doesn't manage to hold on to this location, though, as the Fire Giant come in. The Herso too strong, and the units have to retreat back as TSM player now going to move over here to support, while Mechanics a little bit out of position here. He's putting pressure on. He doesn't really have the siege to push through this town center very fast unless he gets like a lucky mountain giant, fire giant spawn here, maybe even a frost giant or a battle boar could go a long way in helping him push through this location. The villagers need to retreat away here for TSM player, though. Going to be very, very tough position to be in here as the palace starting to get taken down very fast by these fire giants. They only deal 5 crush damage a second, but 15 hack plus 5 crush, still a lot of damage. I don't think they get a bonus versus buildings, but they tend to take the buildings down very fast nonetheless, as the palace goes down. A handful of units over here for gold line, getting that town center back as the fire giants moving forward. We've got champion fanatic, heavy arcus, half decent armory upgrades. So the armory upgrades are coming in for gold line as he's spending his resources nicely over here. Meanwhile, this army has been pushed back, but a ton of dead villagers and Norse units there as well, as TSM player still trying to stabilize in this game. He's still technically in an advantageous position against Mechanics because he's got like 600 score more. The Karkanos is still sitting over here with 70 HP. It does cost 4 population, so that's a big investment to be leaving there, as maybe TSM player doesn't have the idle military banner showing to realize that he's got a Karkanos there. One thing you can do is hit shift, click on the thing, see what's idle, and go, all right, better delete that Karkanos there. Unless, of course, blood keeps, or Mechanics keeps building fishing ships, as apparently was said in the chat. Anyways, we are seeing now Mechanics coming in onto this position. Maybe Mechanics can go for this town center. Not a bad idea at all, though Ulysses grabbing it wouldn't mean the stronger units continue to come out. Like, Mechanics units don't have the armory upgrades at this point, so getting the extra population seems like it might be a little bit better in the hands of Ulysses, the Mechanics. But now we've got a very, very tough situation for Mechanics to be in. This wood line here, this Projopolis here, a wall or two over here at any point can come through and hold on to this. One heavy Hypaspis can clean up the Huskal and the Herso here. These Projopolis will end up going down, but this town center is not long for this world here, as even the fortress by itself is enough to defend that. Meanwhile, we're starting to see the raids coming in, preventing the trade route from coming through. Ulysses dropping a palace on this position to control not only this large gold mine, but also the donkey caravans coming through here, as those donkey caravans are going to be getting taken out here. The dwarves pulling back into the town center of TSM player. There is a gold mine back here. There is a gold mine over here, so it's not completely all over here for Team TSM player and gold line, but they're definitely hurting. Meanwhile, these fire giants going to be cleaning up this army. Look at that damage the special abilities did there, as the units pushing in. The micro for Mechanics still on point after 25 minutes in this game, though now the throwing action getting very close to those Hypaspis as Bellerophon does come in. The town center goes down there as TSM player manages to level the town center playing field kind of here. I mean, Mechanics and Ulysses still on 6 versus TSM player Gold Lions 5, but now the fire giants can start targeting down Mechanics town center over here. Taking that down is going to be a very big help as we see 5 Arcus heroes getting converted. The math definitely favors converting the Fanatics, though. 16 you just like these Arcus here, 80% pierce armor, these deal pierce damage. The math just favors making Hero Fanatic over Hero Arcus, but it is a little bit more expensive to do that. But you definitely should be doing that over the other. Anyways, neither here nor there. We do see a fortress up on this position. The village is going to take down these Arcus over here, as TSM player and gold line still very, very struggling for the gold situation in this game, as the fire giant's getting pushed back over here. Meanwhile, on this position here, Mechanics is pushing through, and TSM player in a bit of a tough position. He's still at 123 population. Meanwhile, Mechanics is 128. Both players very much struggling for population in this game. Ulysses, on the other hand, he's also everybody's not really able to make all of the population that they want here, as I thought Ulysses would have been hard pushing up to 160 here, but his economy definitely in pain, as we are now seeing Gold Lion with a mad side build over here, pushing in onto this location. He's going to be able to hit this town center. Walls coming up, towers coming up, and this is what we're talking about, where some of the time, especially Loki, but the other Norses as well, they can make these walls up. They can make Fire Giant fast. They get a couple of ballasts out, and then life can be very tough for literally every single civilization, not just Atlantean, as Gold Lion manages to get in on that side build there. Nice play by Gold Lion. Ulysses under the pump now. We'll see what his decisions are going to be to deal with that. As meanwhile on this fight, the Bellerophon here is getting targeted down. TSM player has to retreat back yet again as the Mountain Giant gets spawned. Not going to be all too much of a help here, but still here, Bellerophon jumping in. Definitely would have liked to have jumped onto the Mountain Giant here as it's moving forward. There's the Pacifist getting cleaned up. Ulysses at 160 of 160 population now. TSM player at 140 of 140 population. Gold Line at 123 of 123. Mechanics at 129 of 140. So still everyone kind of struggling here in this game. Meanwhile, the walls coming up. The town center getting cleaned very fast, as once these walls are up, maybe this is going to be too tough. However, as this is going on, the town center falls here for Gold Lion. This town center as well might be going down. We do have 15 villagers though. They're going to push forward, take out these Fire Siphon very, very quickly here. Villagers do a lot of damage to Siege with 100% bonus damage to Siege, allowing them to do 16 damage per second. Hack damage per second against the siege weapons as they have to retreat back, as the Ursa going to come in and start taking these units down as best as they can. The villagers are still pushing forward. Meanwhile, this town center just about to go down, as it looks like Ulysses hasn't reacted at all to this. And this not only hurts Ulysses, but it also hurts Mechanics, because this is where Mechanics' trade route is currently moving here in this game. As we did see TSM play. Look at this side build from TSM player coming in onto the bottom town center here. Half HP is it. He can't get the walls in because of this gold mine, but he almost cleans that town center there. As not only that, we're seeing now TSM player targeting down the town center on this location as well, as Mechanics is in full scramble trying to prevent this complete abusive siege wall combination that TSM player and Gold Lion are implementing ever so beautifully here in this game. However, this is not over yet, ladies and gentlemen. Ulysses taking out Gold Lion's town center. Gold Lion's now 0 town centers in this game. The longhouse is going down. Ulysses villagers pushing forward, going to grab this town center, potentially grab this town center, potentially just put a palace down on this position. But the ballista and the Fire Giant going to clean up these town centers very fast. Not only that, taking down Citizen to boot, as this town center is now going to get targeted down yet again by more Petropoli, as the Pacifist in here to defend the Petropoli somewhat, but villagers coming forward to start shanking down. This town center is down at 600 HP, going to go down to 500 HP, going to go down even faster and faster as both of those villages do fall here. Meanwhile, on this position, we do see that the wall is getting cleaned up as a sentry tower coming up for player. He wants to make watchtowers here in the near future, as now the Fire Siphon coming in to take down TSM player's town center. There are some palace now with a Citizen pushing in onto this position as well, as the town center gets trying to get repaired back up. It's a Pacifist coming in here to defend this one as best as they can, as apparently we still got 134 population for Ulysses. He's got a lot of economy. He definitely could be trying to hand that over to Mechanics at this point, as he's definitely struggling to get his town centers back and defending everything. Meanwhile, we're probably going to start seeing players start focusing down Ulysses' back town center here as well, as the town center of Ulysses does fall. Ulysses has now grabbed this town center, and we might be seeing a complete, what do we call it? Base trade here from Ulysses and Gold Lion, as we do see that the town center is very much alive here. TSM player's got himself Athenian wall and fortified town centers. No masons just yet, but the low HP Fire Siphon will fall fairly quickly here. I mean, the Pacifist's not the best, only dealing 6 damage per second against the Fire Siphon. It looks like TSM player's town center will be going down. The town center differential right now is 2 to 3 at 30 minutes into the game. This is incredibly tense. Ulysses grabbing this town center back for himself, as I'm sure Ulysses, yes, Ulysses' back town center is now getting targeted down by just 2 Petropolis, as the wall over here going to be getting broken down. Hephaestus still dealing with some units left, right, and center here, as well, basically we need to see some Heliopoli or something to come in and clean this up. But the town center is up now for Ulysses. He's going to be able to grab these farms if he wants, grab the wood over here. Completely fine. The problem is probably going to be for Ulysses, I would assume, gold, though he does have 6 villages on gold somewhere here all over the map, it would seem, as the town center attempting to come back up. The fire siphon pushing in onto this location, going to be denying this one for the time being. Meanwhile, the units over here for Mechanics trying to push through and break down this fortress before he even attempts to get a town center back. Where are the ox carts, though, is the big question. There's got to be one. There's one ox cart here for Mechanics, as he is long distance mining, farming from everywhere here, as this town center still getting taken down very slowly, though, as it looks like Mechanics is able to defend that ever so barely, as the fire siphon trying to push in onto this position, getting cleaned up now that the heroes are in here. The Petropolis going to take down the palace. We see some military buildings coming down. The Contarius coming in here. They will be able to clean up this this ox cart, though, of Gold Lion, but he does have 4 ox carts remaining here. It would seem 5 ox carts, maybe 4, but plenty remaining. So the Contarius, they do have the right idea. Killing off a 0 town center, Norse players' drop sites is definitely a way forward to completely shut the Norse player out. So Ulysses is trying to make that happen here as Mechanics. I mean, he still does have this town, so he's got this town center back, I should say. He lost it at some point, I don't know. But the trade route still coming through for Mechanics onto this town center. And we are seeing Gold Line receiving some resources. Gold Line with tons of gold in the bank here. Whereas TSM player has got 30 gold. He could definitely use some gold here, ladies and gentlemen, as his town center is coming back up here. We'll see him grab this gold mine, I'm sure, as the town centers are up for player. Ulysses at 3 town centers here. We are seeing this town center coming up for Gold Line, so he's finally gotten 1 back. Does Gold Lion have temples? Yes, he does. He can make all of the fire giant he so chooses and try and take this town center up, as we see yet another side build coming through for Gold Lion to clean up this town center here as the house is getting taken down. Meanwhile, over here, the units swinging through for Mechanics, looking for something to do here. But it looks like TSM player is he's just too all over the Mechanics base. Mechanics has to clean up these buildings from the back forward, making sure he controls all of that location there. As the fire siphon coming in over here, the ballista, funnily enough, they deal 5 crush damage, so they're going to be able to clean up these fire siphon very, very fast. But we do see the Ursa coming in for Mechanics. He spots the weak ballista, going to come in, take those out. The town center still getting cleaned up here very, very fast. As meanwhile, we see the fire giant coming out of this location here. I'm pretty sure they'll have Rampage. Yes, they do have Rampage, allowing the Loki fire giants to take out the town center, or to build incredibly fast, and then thus taking out the town center, potentially giving Gold Lion back his home base here, as he's continuing to build ballista in onto this position to try and take out the settlement here, or prevent the settlement just ever so slightly. Will he get any shots off? Looks like he does not here. As we see Mechanics returning back onto this position, and TSM player, he's able to clean up this town center over here. And now Ulysses, he's going to be down to 1 town center yet again, if not the first time in this game, yet again, as he's going to get this one back up, it would seem. There's some resources coming in to Gold Lion for the time being here, as these units getting taken out. Mechanics now, 120 or 120 population. We're seeing the town center coming the wayside of TSM players. These 9 Hersa come in to say, no, not today, Sonny Jim. We're going to put a stop to this one here. As the MVP Karkanos is still just hanging out in the water, just saying g'day. As the Myrmidon cleaning up these Hersa beautifully, as we will be seeing this town center maybe going to TSM player. Let's just check out his population. He's at full population, but he's all over the map with his units, trying to clean up everything over here. I think that's definitely the way to go. Cleans up Mechanics Town Center on this position. Now Mechanics down to 0. Ulysses at 2, trying to get this one back up, but I don't see that coming up at any time soon, as Gold Lion is fixated on that with his Fire Giant and his Ballista. And in that moment, Ulysses and Mechanics tap out. What an insane game here from TSM player Gold Lion, Ulysses, and Mechanics. This one just shows the level at which Age Mythology can be played at. These side builds, the walls, the shenanigans from TSM player Gold Lion getting in with the side build, attack your opponent where they're weak. Ulysses going over here with his Fire Siphon. I bet you he's kicking himself for not going Helios in this game for the Vortex instead of the Tartarian gate. But Mechanics as well, able to survive for so long on 0 town centers while being completely boxed in. Absolute insane game. I guess the only thing left to see is the resource total, team stats. Very, very close. Obviously, the Ulysses Mechanics matchup is going to have more because they do have the Atlanteans here, as well as the Norse versus the Greek, who didn't go for any trade or anything, so he can't catch back up. But still a huge advantage here for Ulysses and Mechanics that just was not able to get converted. As you can see, the military units killed, 358 for player, 277 for Gold Lion. That's really not any more than Ulysses and Mechanics. It was simply just a battle of inches here, ladies and gentlemen. If you guys enjoyed this game, please consider hitting the follow on the Twitch. If you're on the YouTube, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next game.